It is the end of April. We are fresh off of the 2024 NFL Draft. I'm here with Brendan. We are Statletics. We're going to roll over some of the biggest winners and losers from the 2024 NFL Draft and kind of some of the key talking points, some of the biggest takeaways that we found specifically from the first round of the draft, kind of a casual conversation and our thoughts on how we thought the draft went. A little bit anticlimactic, but there's a lot of big winners and there's a lot of big losers. So before we hop into that, Brendan, how we doing, man?
I'm here. I'm back fresh off the beach and I'm burnt, but I had to go back to work.
Yeah,
so we're good.
Yep.
We're almost to NCAA 24 coming out, and then we got the granddaddy of them all when fall gets back. So
yeah, we also had some Best Ball Mania lobbies open up, so Best Ball is officially back too. So we'll definitely be hitting up some drafts in the very near future. Hopefully, even live streaming a few of them here and there. So that's on the laundry list of things we plan to do this summer. So jumping into the draft, we got to hit on the obvious first when we talk about biggest winners and losers and key takeaways. One of the most controversial draft picks in recent memory, Michael Penix goes 8th overall to the Atlanta Falcons. My Atlanta Falcons. I'm heartbroken. I'm dumbfounded, and I am just at a loss for words for this pick. I still think it's a bad dream, but nonetheless, it's real. Michael Penix is a Falcon. He will be back up to Kirk Cousins, who just signed a 4-year mega deal to play quarterback for the Falcons. So, and nothing adds up here. You have Michael Penix, who turns 25 like next week. He's older than Sam Howell, to put that into perspective. Let's just set the tone here. He's older than Sam Howell, and he is now on a rookie contract behind a top 10 rookie contract nonetheless behind Kirk Cousins, who's getting paid a shit ton of money. Now, we'll talk a little bit about the contract later down the road because there is, maybe a silver lining for the Falcons, not justifying what they did, but per Kirk Cousins' contract, this is more of a 2-year deal than a 4-year deal for the Falcons, but still, absolute just blown pick, a blown top 10 pick for the Falcons here. Just unjustifiable on all fronts. It seems like there's really no way to even try and play devil's advocate here. So, biggest loser in the draft, Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons. One of the biggest winners, though, is Michael Penix because, dude's a top 10 pick. He's going to get paid like a top 10 pick, and he's not going to have to do shit for the next few years. So he's a winner, in my opinion. I would love to do that job, but nonetheless, Falcons, what are you doing, man? Be better. Be better. Beach, thoughts?
Backup quarterback is still the best occupation to have in the United States of America. You get paid a ridiculous amount of money to not do anything at all. And all I have to say is, like you said, Michael Penix turns 25 soon. He won't play till he's 29 if they keep Kirk for as long as they do, which they intend on doing. He had a season-ending injury every single year in college. If not every single year, it's 3 out of 4 or 5. He played so many years in college. And the dude can sling it, but I just cannot fathom your emotions during that, Harrison. Because the first thing I did was text you because that's what we do during the draft. But yeah, you could have taken like the first defender off the board, anyone you want. Could have taken another receiver. You could have taken a whole bunch of things.
Anything.
Y'all have done a great job in the last couple of years where controversially Pitts, Bijan, Drake London, and now you've got your quarterback. Why not get another receiver? Why not do something else? But no, you used the 8th overall pick on a backup quarterback for 4 years.
No,
and
yeah.
Terry, what's his name again? Terry what? Y'all's GM?
Fontenot.
Terry Fontenot, like he was trying to defend it like, hey, if you see a player like that, you got to go get him. To sit on the bench for 4 years and be old
as shit. He'll be 29 by the time that Kirk Cousins is gone if he plays all 4 years. Now, here's the crux to all of that. So Kirk Cousins' contract, 4 years, but all of the guaranteed money is in the first 2 years. He gets no guaranteed money in the last 2 years. So theoretically, if Kirk Cousins goes bust, then Michael Penix comes in. But even at that point, he'll be 27. So it just doesn't make sense. And a lot of people are making the comp to Jordan Love being drafted by the Packers back when Aaron Rodgers was the starter. And that's not the same. It's not the same because, one, Jordan Love was 20 when he was drafted. Two, people forget that Aaron Rodgers was like threatening to walk away and retire and threatened to request a trade at that point. Like, there was a lot of strife between Green Bay's front office and Aaron Rodgers at that moment. So they weren't even certain that Aaron Rodgers was going to be the quarterback for them next year. So it was a safety net pick for them as well. Mm-hmm. But the fact that they just signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year mega deal, there was no question that they already had a starter. There was no strife between, or at least there wasn't before this, between Kirk Cousins and the front office. Like, if you're going to spend that money to try and win now, then at least show that in the draft as well. That is a useless pick right now. What do you get from that? If you're in win now mode, which I thought my understanding was you were in win now mode by getting a new coach, going out and getting a brand new quarterback for $100+ million. But that is a waste of a pick. It's going to do nothing for you. We could have used an edge. We could have used a cornerback. We have nobody going across AJ Terrell right now. But a total malpractice by our front office. You can't even justify it. You can't even compare it, to anything else. It's just so bad, so egregiously bad, and
that's bad. It's bad juju. Y'all are going to be cursed for 10 years because of that pick.
It is, dude. It's so bad. I wanted Dallas Turner.
I easily had the Falcons winning their division, but after this blasphemy, I'm done.
But the thing is that they still can. They still very well can, because I still think they have a great team. They have a ton of young talent on the offensive side of the ball. Kirk Cousins, if he plays well, like we've seen him do in the past, like they could win 9, 10, 11 games easily. The worst division in football. They could absolutely do it. But it would have been more of a shoe-in for them to do so if they were to go out and bolster the defense or bolster the offensive line, not add a backup quarterback who provides nothing. Nothing. Unless Kirk Cousins gets hurt, sure. Like, it'll be nice to have Michael Penix just walk in and be able to step in and play. But on the field, you can't put him on the field. Like, with an edge, we could have put Dallas Turner out there and had immediate impact on the defensive side of the ball. We could have put Latu out there and had immediate impact on the defensive side of the football. But now we have a backup quarterback who's just going to sit there all shiny and getting old. Just bad. But
okay, man.
Can't even talk about it. If I get going, I'll just get even more frustrated. So
we can't talk about this the whole hour,
I know.
We must move on.
All right, let's look on to a couple more optimistic takes, a couple more, some winners that we wanted to discuss. So there's a few teams that I had written down, as well as a few players. So let's start with the teams. I think both Pennsylvania teams are winners, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll start with the Steelers. And now this is kind of like a sleeper one, but I think they drafted extremely well. On top of, they have security at the quarterback position between Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. No matter who starts, at least you're going to have somebody who's halfway decent, I guess. Is that safe to say? Like, it's definitely, it's sure as shit not going to be Kenny Pickett. So, that's a plus in my opinion. But I mean, the 4th round pick of Peyton Wilson was one of the biggest steals in the draft. They landed Troy Fontenot, who's a perfect Steeler. Zach Frazier, another big get. Roman Wilson is a beast of a block in the run game. After they hired Arthur Smith, that they're going to be pounding that rock. And I hope they start Justin Fields, not Russell Wilson, because that run game is going to be mean, if so, given everything that they just added up in the draft, given the skill set of Justin Fields, and given the playbook of Arthur Smith. So, thoughts on the Steelers in the draft?
Yeah, last year you go Broderick Jones a tackle, and this year you get a tackle or guard, whichever way you want to use them, and a guard center, whichever way you want to use them. And that's 3 young guys in the O-line that are real people movers, and I'm really excited about that since the Steelers are and I are one. Then you go in the 3rd and get a little bit of wide receiver help with Roman Wilson, from Michigan, who didn't like stand out extremely well. But I mean, he's still a good receiver. But like you said, we're about to pound the rock, and it's going to be boring to watch, but I'm okay with it. And if you put Fields out there, Russ can move a little bit, but like if you put Fields out there, this is sick.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Insane.
And I really love it. I think that it's going to be able to win games in boring fashion. And, the defense is always, shooing to be one of the top defenses in the league. And I was really impressed. And every year I'm like, draft lineman, draft lineman, draft lineman. There you go. We got 2 years and we got 3 in the top 2 rounds. So I think the Steelers are big winners. I think that it's one of the toughest divisions in football, if not the toughest. But, I mean, you can get 3 teams out of the division to make the playoffs. So I love it. And I trust Tomlin to keep everything under wraps. I would have to think that they start with Russ, honestly.
Yeah.
I would have to think. But either way, it doesn't matter, man. I mean, if you're going to primarily run the ball anyway, that opens the play action for Russ, which we've seen year over year, which is great. And if you plug Fields in there, then you've got a rushing threat as well. So I'm very happy. I'm excited to see how they roll out the season. Very excited to see what they can do.
And think about this too. The last note on the Steelers here is after revamping the offensive line. So say they find themselves to have a top 10 offensive line, and I think they're projected to definitely be in that range.
Oh yeah.
On top of that, their 12 personnel is Pat Freiermuth and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So they have 2 beasts out at tight end as well with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson at quarterback. Then you have George Pickens and then now Roman Wilson at a perimeter, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren at running back. It's like an underrated unit in my opinion. And with Arthur Smith, as much as I hated him and when he was with the Falcons and his just sheer lack of usage with the superstar players, I think him being back in an offensive coordinator role where he doesn't really dictate who,
the personnel.
I'm sure Mike Tomlin is going to be like, hey, if you don't use, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, you're stupid. Like do this. Don't get tricky with it. So I think it's a big win for the Steelers. And I think they'll definitely be an underrated unit heading into 2024. Now, we did say Eagles were another big winner of this draft as well. Howie Roseman, man, dude's a baller. I think he tied the most in draft trades of all time with like 9. And even he not only did he acquire 2025 picks, but he still was able to acquire really good talent in this draft. And I mean, he picked up Toledo's Quinyon Mitchell at corner, and then Iowa's Cooper DeJean. Dude, white boy of the century right here. Dude's gonna be a baller.
They'll move him to safety. White people can't play corner. They'll move him to safety.
No. I think he'll stay at corner. I think he will. I think he was worthy. I think Cooper was worthy of being a first round pick. So I think this is a great grab by Philly. Of course, they were the ones to get him after he falls. In the defensive backfield, they already featured Darius Slay and James Bradbury. So it's going to be awesome.
It's gonna be nice.
And then one of the underrated picks was getting Will Shipley in the 4th.
I love that.
And then they also picked up Jeremiah Trotter from Clemson as well. Johnny Wilson in the 6th round. That was kind of crazy.
That's something to think about. He's like 6'13". He's huge. You can put him at tight end.
Yeah. So
red zone, anything. I mean, their red zone is going to be crazy with Barkley, Hurts, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and
and the line, like, Jason Kelsey retired, but they picked up baby Jason Kelsey in NC State's Dylan McMahon. So great draft by Howie Roseman.
Great draft. Just
yet again going out there taking advantage of the other incompetent GMs like Terry Fontenot. So good for them. They also have a ton of picks in 2025. So even if this year is a down year, which I don't even expect it to be, they can absolutely reload in 2025. So seems kind of unfair, but it is what it is. Good for the Eagles. Okay. Big loser of the draft. Let's state the obvious here. The Raiders. I know that we were talking about this right before we got started, and I'll let you kind of run with this conversation, but taking Brock Bowers at 13 when you already have Michael Mayer and seemingly you're in a tough position at the quarterback position, this just doesn't seem right. And you have a struggling defense as well. So, Brendan, what are your thoughts here? and on the Raiders taking Brock Bowers, even though Brock Bowers is, in my opinion, he was a top 5 prospect in the draft. But given the nature of the Raiders roster right now, given the fact that they already drafted a first-round tight end last year, how do you feel about this? And explain why you think they're one of the draft's losers.
You can't fix a bad team with one skill player. It's kind of what I'm looking at here. Like if I'm a GM, which I'm not, but I should if anyone's hiring. But quarterback in the trenches first. Okay.
Yeah.
And they did get Jackson Powers Johnson, who is a good guard / center off of from Oregon, which is fine, but that's 1 out of 5 offensive lineman positions. And then you don't address the quarterback, you don't address the defense, and you get a tight end when you drafted a tight end last year. Now, I understand Brock Bowers, in my opinion, he's like the greatest tight end I've ever seen in college, for me being young. But I mean, he's not huge. He's really strong, right? But like, how are they going to use him? Like, are they really going to use him as just like another wide receiver, but he's a tight end? Like, he's quicker than the linebackers, probably just as strong. But I mean, is that really going to do a lot for you? It's not really a guy who's going to stretch the field for you. Like, he's just going to be like a ceiling of Kelsey, I think. But like, Kelsey doesn't do anything over the top. It's all underneath. And it's like, you can't just pound it underneath with a quarterback who's not, like, who are they going to, is it going to be AFC? Going to be Aiden O'Connell? Like, I don't even know.
Him or Gardner
I don't even know who it's going to be. Or Gardner Minshew. But I mean, you lost Josh Jacobs, you got Zamir White, you have no other weapons outside of that. I think Zamir's good, but like, no running back's good unless you have a great offensive line. And it's just a waste. Like, the bad teams stay bad because they make decisions like this. And that was not a shot at the Falcons, but it's just. This decision is insane to me.
Yeah,
there were so many.
You have Devontae Adams wasting away. I'm a believer in Gardner Minshew, but do I think he's going to take a team all the way? No. But to be fair to the Raiders, they were in a tough spot because all 6 of the top 6 quarterbacks were taken before spot 13. Bo Nix went right before him at 12. JJ McCarthy went at 10. And then Michael Penix went at 8. Dumb, but happened. And then, of course, the first 3 picks of the draft were all quarterbacks as well. So, I understand them not like trying to go for a quarterback, at least not early. But at the same time, man, what do you like? It's going to be great when they're winning games and they're able to play 2 tight end personnel with Meyer and Brock Bowers on the field at the same time. They love to pound the rock with Zamir White, so it's going to be great for that. But you get in a tough spot, you're in a bad situation. Who's going to stop him on the defensive side of the ball? Nobody. Who throwing the football? Gardner Minshew. I believe in him, but he's not going to be the guy that takes the team to a Super Bowl, in my opinion. So lots of holes there. I also think they did pretty weak in the later rounds of the draft as well. But
that's fair. That's fair talking about the quarterbacks. But I mean, there was not a defensive player taken off the board when they came up. You could have anybody.
Yeah.
And you cannot fix an NFL team with a tight end at all. And maybe they'll look long term, whatever. I don't care. But like, come on, man. I wouldn't have done that if that was them. Even though I love Brock Bowers, but that team with all the things they need to fix, you can't fix that with the tight end.
Yeah,
can't.
Yeah, is what it is. Is what it is. It's going to be interesting to see how Antonio Pierce shapes this team up ahead of the 2024 season. So, moving on, I have a team that's a loser and then a specific player that's a winner. Bo Nix is a winner, being drafted in the top 12. Denver Broncos, major losers. Major losers. Not only was this pick a reach similar to the Atlanta Falcons, but they also didn't really do too hot in the rest of the draft. But let's start off at the top with the obvious in Bo Nix. I think this was just a sheer Sean Payton being like, I want a fresh start. This is the last quarterback in the draft. Or last of the top 6. He's like, I want a guy who I can mold and shape into be my own. Hit the reset button. I don't want to, use Jarrett Stidham or Zach Wilson. Guys are cheeks. So give me Bo Nix. We'll start fresh, start anew, and go from there. But even then, man, that's such a reach, you know? I think they could have gotten away with so much better. I think they could even gotten another year and not, I'm not going to advocate for tanking, but they could have tanked and then got some better value, why lock yourself up with Bo Nix? It's just tough. I don't know, but speaking on the rest of the draft, they got Bo Nix's old teammate, Troy Franklin.
That's cool.
In the fourth round.
That's a cool story.
Yeah, so that's a good one. The only other pick that I thought was relatively decent was getting Audric Estime out of Notre Dame. They didn't have a second-round pick, which was a struggle for them. That was just kind of, again, a really tough draft overall for the Denver Broncos. But what are your thoughts on Bo Nix going to Sean Payton and the Broncos, and what do you think there?
This team needs a lot of things.
Yeah, they do.
They need a lot of things, and I mean, it's foolish to say that this draft broke them. They didn't have a lot of draft capital, So they had 3 picks inside the top 4 rounds, and so I mean, I guess I understand it. Bo Nix is a great athlete, and he's controversial as far as if he's good or not, but in the right scheme, he could be. But I mean, I don't really know what they're going to try to do here as far as scheme wise. They still have Javonte Williams, who was hurt pretty bad. What was it, 2 years ago? And, or was it this last year?
He was hurt pretty bad 2 years ago, and then he played on the bad knee this year. Didn't look like himself, but slowly getting better.
I mean, wide receiver corps is in shambles. I don't even know. Are they still trying to trade Courtland Sutton?
Yeah. The Steelers have been shopping for him a little bit.
That'd be awesome.
They shipped off Jerry Jeudy, but I mean, they still got some talent, but it's just they got a long way to go with everything else.
The defense is shit. So.
They're far from a complete team. Well, we'll just put it that way. To put it nicely. So
I don't think this team would be fixed in one draft. I don't know if they could have gotten a bunch of stuff for that 12th pick, but honestly, I'm all for tanking. I think that's totally fine. I'm in a fantasy football league where I won because I gave up a lot of assets for next year, and I'm going to completely tank this coming year, and I'm going to get a bunch of draft picks from it. So I'm totally fine. If you can win every other year, I mean, that's a bunch of bowls in your back pocket. So,
right.
I just think there's a lot to fix here, and it definitely did not get fixed in this draft. So they need to acquire some more draft capital moving forward and look for about a 3 to 5 year plan here.
Yeah. We'll see what they do in the rest of the offseason, see if they make any more moves. But again, there's a lot more holes in this offense and defense than people would like to admit. So long way to go for the Broncos. That was a tough pick. Taking Bo Nix at 12. Not a fan of it, and not a fan of the process that they took to get there. So moving on. JJ McCarthy is a big winner from this draft because, and the reason I say JJ McCarthy and not necessarily the Vikings is because, jury's still out on JJ McCarthy. There's a really, really low sample size of throwing statistics and, really data of him passing the football from college because he averaged 12 attempts per game or something like that. But I don't blame JJ McCarthy for that. If Michigan had the ability to run the football 75% of the time and they won every single game last year, I would do that myself if I was the head coach. So, not knocking JJ McCarthy. I still think he could be a really, really good quarterback in the NFL. The reason I say he's a winner of this draft is because what a landing spot for a rookie quarterback. This offense is a dream scenario. You have arguably the best wide receiver in football in Justin Jefferson. You have one of the best up-and-coming wide receivers in Jordan Addison. You have Aaron Jones just signed to be running back, and he's a dynamic player in the passing game as well. Great running back, just all around. They're adding units to the defensive side of the football. They drafted Dallas Turner in the first round as well. So Vikings, great draft for them, in my opinion.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
So I think JJ McCarthy is just a winner from this, because if I was getting drafted in this draft, I would love to go to a team like the Vikings, who are set up perfectly for me to succeed and on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, and Kevin O'Connell is a great offensive mind. I think that even if JJ McCarthy isn't great, I still think he'll be just fine at the bare minimum. You know, he'd have to be really, really, really bad to not succeed at some degree in this offense. What do you think?
I believe in him. I wasn't for a long time, but I think he's going to do really good. I really do. I think that he will be able to make those throws, and any quarterback that comes into Kevin O'Connell, especially a young one, is going to do really well. And you cannot ask for better weapons. You
No.
can't. You cannot ask for better weapons. At the same time, like I think the Vikings are big winners here. I mean, they got Dallas Turner at 17.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. He was projected to the Falcons in a lot of mocks at 8. So, I mean, that's a steal. And, you know, they still have to work on the defensive side, but we get the Vikings in shootout games again. So I love it. Indoors also. Indoors.
Yeah, that's huge. That's
Indoors.
Huge. So,
I mean, you can draw it up better for any quarterback. You never want to get drafted in the top 5 if you're a quarterback, because you're just on a shit team. So I love it.
I do too. Okay. Winners from the draft. I think the Bears. And I know this is kind of crazy. I know that a lot of other teams had better drafts, just in terms of quality players that they were able to get. But I think the Bears are winners solely because of the offense that they were able to construct just based off of this draft. And I think getting Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze alone, significant upgrade to this offense. Now, do I think that Caleb Williams is going to come in there and be immediately better than what Justin Fields was? I don't think so. You know, he may have a chance to get it done in year one. I think everything certainly favors him, but still, I think for a franchise who historically just has always been defensive minded and never really had a fireworks type offense. You know, you think about it, their best quarterback has been Jay Cutler? If that, I don't know. So, but anyways, I think that the offense that they were able to put together, I mean, you know, you think about it, their top 2 wide receivers right now are DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and then you have Caleb Williams back there. You got a slew of good running backs. They're kind of beefing up the offensive line a little bit. Cole Kmet, Keenan Allen, and it's crazy. Like they're a completely different new look offense this year. Will they be better immediately? I don't know, but certainly the weapons are better, and they're set up way better for success on the offensive side of the ball than they were in 2023. What do you think?
Yes, on paper, but they still perform the same. Let me ask you a question. Now, first I'll say Odunze and DJ Moore together is awesome.
It is.
Keenan Allen's like 105 years old, and he'll retire after 2 years probably.
I still think he'll be a great asset because of his route running and his ability to like at least coach. But I mean, he'll still get open. I think down low.
Yeah, he'll have the underneath like checkdowns covered. Like he'll be there. I really think so. But you're setting up for the potential for DJ Moore and Rome Odunze to be like the dynamic duo of receivers is like pretty promising. But let me ask you a question here. Would you draft a quarterback first overall if you went 7-5 in the Pac-12? You went 7-5 in the Pac-12.
I get where you're going in this, but
I understand his stats, right? But he's in the Pac-12, and he's under Lincoln Riley, who always pads his quarterback stats, as shown by his Heisman winners. But Hudson reminded me of that the other day, and I'm like, never even thought about that. Because I'm still down. I'm the same way down on Caleb Williams like I was on Anthony Richardson last year. And Anthony Richardson proved me wrong and will continue to prove me wrong. But until I see something in the NFL level, I just think it's the same old Bears.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that. And I agree. I think, there was a lot of skepticism around Caleb Williams just with his performance in college this past year. But at the same time, you think about it from a GM perspective, Caleb Williams has the highest ceiling. And you think about it. You can't be the guy who passed up on Caleb Williams if he turns out to hit that potential. Because he has a chance to be phenomenal immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in desperate need of a quarterback, like, are you gambling more on Jane Daniels or Drake May over Caleb Williams? Like,
I
Caleb,
just think
I think Caleb Williams' ceiling is pretty explicably higher than the other twos.
that's completely fair. But I think this team still needs more than what they drafted to change the team around.
And I think they've tried. You know, they went out and got Keenan Allen. They drafted Roma Dunze. They signed DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
They're putting together a good offensive line. They signed Gerald Everett to play behind Cole Kmet. I mean, it's not like they are not trying.
Right.
So I think we will see some good, some good offense at least. Now, defensive, it's kind of tough. They did lose Justin Jones. Now, they're adding some guys here and there. You know, they have TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, and the offense and the linebacker crew. So, adding slowly but surely. But I see what you're saying. This is not a similar to what you said with the Broncos. You're not going to fix this team with a mere quarterback, even though quarterback is the most important position in the sport. You know, I think that there's more fixes that are necessary, even in the coaching staff. You know, the way that they call plays. I think there's, a change that's needed, or just a different philosophy overall. But if it's me, I'm not going to be the guy that passes up
on
fair. Caleb Williams.
That's fair. I'm not saying anything about that. I think they had a good draft on paper. I really did. You can obviously see my bias here. I think Caleb Williams sucks as a person. So I just don't want him to be good in the NFL at all.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people share the same sentiment that you have right now. So, all right. Well, before we end the show, steal of the draft, in your opinion, in your humble opinion, let the people know who you think was the steal of the 2024 draft, specifically the first round. We'll make it easy and go from there.
I want to preface it with I was very bored during the draft. I thought it was a very boring draft.
It kind of was, yeah.
If I'm being honest with you, I think that the steal of the first round was a defensive player projected to go as high as the top 10 and slipped all the way to 17 for the Vikings' second pick, and that's Dallas Turner. Just because they've got their quarterback, and I'm confident in that offensive unit to be good, and they got, arguably the best defensive prospect this year at 17. So that's arguably, I said. That's what I think is the biggest steal of the draft. I think they did an excellent job of drafting, and they traded up for that, I believe. They went to go get them.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan. I think they did a great job, and I mean, most of the top 10 and everything was like predicted kind of that way, so I wouldn't say it was like necessarily steal. So I'm gonna go a little lower.
Penis.
Yeah, except penis. Yeah. But I'll go with 17, Dallas Turner.
Okay, I like it. I really wanted to say Drake May for this, and I know a lot of people would be like, "How is a top 3 pick a steal of the draft?" Well, my argument would be, I think Drake May would have been the number 1 quarterback in a lot of other recent quarterback drafts, in my opinion. And I think the Patriots kind of looked into that 3 spot where they were able to get Drake May, because I think he's going to be phenomenal. I think he's got the highest floor of all of the rookie quarterbacks, in my opinion. I know a lot of people would argue Caleb Williams, but I think Drake May could find the most success. Now, I know it's going to be tough on the Patriots, who don't really have a whole lot of offensive weapons, but they did go out and try and find him some in Jalen Polk in the draft. He's a dog, underrated pick for them. But I wanted to say Drake May. I thought he was a steal, even at 3. So, but to go steal and kind of stay in the lane a little bit and not pick a top 3 guy, Ricky Pearsall, steal for the 49ers. And I wouldn't have said this if any other team got him, but the fact that he's going to the 49ers, the schematic fit here for Pearsall and the 49ers, I mean, You can draw it up better. It's almost as good as Ladd McConkey going to the Chargers. But Ricky Pearsall, dog, going to the 49ers. Shanahan gets away with one.
Would you have rather had Ladd if you're the 49ers?
Honestly, yes, but like I just
Same.
love Ladd so much.
Same.
Like it's such a subjective take. Like if I'm being objective, I think Ricky Pearsall is a guy who's like more ready to start now. But Ladd McConkey's a dog. If you whoever did not watch SEC football, do yourself a favor, look up Ladd McConkey Georgia highlights on YouTube.
They're sick.
Crack a beer
Sickening.
And have the best time of your life.
Sickening. He makes people look so silly.
Yes.
His route running's ridiculous. But yeah, yes. I think Pearsall's got a chip on his shoulder, and I love it. But what's he gonna do? Take Jawan's spot? No,
he's gonna take Debo's spot.
Yeah, good.
He's gonna take Debo because they're gonna ship Debo out of there. They're tired of him. I think they'd rather get rid of Debo and keep Ayuk, given that Ayuk, in the way that he plays, would probably be on the field more and get injured less.
You ready for this? Debo to the Steelers, AFC champs.
No.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Although I see it. If the 49ers are going to get rid of Debo, they're going to want to ship him to an AFC team, not an NFC team. So
bring me the ship.
All right, you heard him. Debo to the Steelers from Beach.
That'd be awesome. That'd be insane.
Yeah.
I'd love it.
I'd clip it, show it with the date. So, guys,
Yeah.
we appreciate you watching. That's it for the 2024 draft. We will be back here next year with the same sort of content, but soon enough, we'll be doing all of our division by division breakdowns. One of our favorite times of the year, going in depth, each division, each team, giving our over-under on their win totals, MVP picks, all of it coming soon. So we appreciate you watching, and we'll be back here next week.